Solutions to environmental problems more often than not takes collective effort to be totally effective. That rings very true when dealing with the garbage problem, more particularly the one we have in this country. That's why after a successful cleanup operation in Taguig, Zero co-founder Mike Smith came back and did it again, this time for the highly contaminated Guadalupe River in Pasig, Cebu. Aside from being the founder of a company that offers more environment-friendly products, he also wants to educate more and more people of the value of what to some may seem like such a simple project. But when you think about it, if done more consistently and at a much rather grander scale, might even actually be the difference between keeping this planet of ours or scrambling to find a new one. And to tell us more about the Pasig Cebu City cleanup drive and other environmental initiatives, we have with us here tonight environmental advocate and founder of Zero Co, Mike Smith. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening. Thanks so much for having me.
Mike Smith in the flesh.
Yes, I'm back. I'm back in the Philippines.
Time has flown unbelievably. We are so psyched to finally have you here in the Manila studio.
Yeah.
So word has it, you have recently been down at the Pasig River. Pasig City, rather, at Cebu City.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you were at the mouth of the Guadalupe River.
Correct.
Which sadly is deemed as the dirtiest river in Cebu City. Tell us all about what happened over there, and were there actually any key differences from your last cleanup at the Taguig Pateros Estero?
Yeah, so we were in the Pasig area for 10 days, 11 days actually. It's the biggest cleanup we've ever done in Zero Co history. We removed over 200,000 kilos worth of rubbish off this beach, which is the equivalent of more than 10 million water bottles worth of waste. So when we got there, I was just shocked by the scale of the problem. The rubbish was knee deep along this stretch of maybe 300 meters of beach.
Okay. So basically the location was different. You were at the mouth of a major river, and if I'm not mistaken, Guadalupe River is also at the center of Cebu City. So you have a lot of trash that's flowing downstream, and then you're also connected very much so closely to the ocean. Tell us about how difficult or challenging the logistics of that whole cleanup was.
Yeah, totally. So the Guadalupe River, correct? It flows from the back of Cebu up in the mountains, and when we were in Cebu 12 months ago, we went right up to the head of the river, and it was crystal clear water flowing out of the mountains, no rubbish. And then we did a series of, I think, 5 cleanups down the river towards the city. And as we got closer and closer to the city, the water got dirtier, there was more rubbish in it. And so this location was right at the mouth where all of the rubbish flows through. So some of the challenges we had here were, it was really crazy hot. Like even now, we've got 12 Filipinos who work with us full time doing our cleanups. And none of those guys could work past kind of 11 a.m. in the morning. So we were starting our cleanups at 4 a.m. in the dark. We had some floodlights on. Then we'd go to about 11 o'clock in the day. Then we'd have a break, and then we'd come back at like 5 o'clock at night and work through to 8 o'clock in the evening. So the heat was the main thing. And then just the scale of the rubbish. It was really quite confronting and quite shocking how much rubbish there was on this beach.
So in comparison to the last cleanup at the Taguig Pateros River in Metro Manila, you were able to continue on with your cleanup effort the entire day, was it? Yeah,
so the last cleanup we did here in Manila, it was just much less hot. And so we were working kind of 8, 9, 10-hour days in one big block of time, whereas here we just couldn't do it.
Okay, so moving forward to the next efforts that you would conduct here in the country, what are some key lessons that you can perhaps take with you in the next time you visit here in the Philippines?
One of the things that was really heartwarming at this cleanup was just the community support that rallied around the cleanup. I put a video out on, I think, day 2, just onto TikTok and Instagram, and it's had like almost 1 million views now. And we just put a call out to the local community saying, hey, we're here for 10 days. The problem is much bigger than we thought, and we're not going to be able to do it ourselves. And so over the kind of next 10 days, we had all different kinds of people come down, from the local barangay to the local council. We even had an association of local construction companies come down and bring dump trucks to help us. We had an excavator come in. We had local kids collecting rubbish. It was a real community effort, which was really amazing to see.
Yeah, we were talking earlier. You mentioned that there was a company that also volunteered a backhoe right? To help you
Correct.
just dig out all that trash.
Yeah. We just realised a couple of days in we weren't going to get through this just with our own manpower. So we ended up having an excavator and a bunch of dump trucks, which was amazing.
Okay, when somebody would want to volunteer their time and effort for a cleanup effort, what would that entail? What does a volunteer have to look out for, and what do they have to expect?
Yeah, so at this cleanup, we brought a whole bunch of gloves and boots for volunteers to wear, so they're safe. We had a couple of companies that brought down, a couple of local restaurants brought down food 2 different days to feed and provide drinks for all the volunteers. And then it's really up to the local volunteers to kind of work as long or as hard as they like. They can come for half an hour, they can come for the full day. I think it's just really great to see lots of people getting involved in whatever way they can, you know.
Okay, beyond the cleanup, we've talked about this in our last interview online, but we'd like to really emphasize that this cleanup effort that you're doing is also to help spur and energize the local community, right? It's not about just cleaning up today and just dumping trash again tomorrow. It's more about looking at long-term goals of this cleanup initiative. So beyond the immediate removal of waste, what are other measures that Zero Co., your company, is also considering to address as far as also getting right down and snuffing out the root causes of pollution, just not just in Cebu, but in general?
There's a couple of things that we all have to do as like a species, that humanity needs to do. The first thing we need to do is reduce the amount of plastic we are buying, using and throwing away every day. Because if we don't do that, it doesn't matter how big the cleanup effort, if there's just more rubbish flowing into the river or washing up onto the beach, you'll never stay ahead of it. And I think it was day 5 or 6 of the cleanup, that point really kind of came home really hard for me. We left the site at about 4 o'clock one afternoon and we'd almost cleaned an entire section of the beach, and we came back the next morning and it was completely covered again. And it was a bit kind of disheartening and heartbreaking on that day, because we felt like we could not remove the rubbish from the beach as quickly as it was washing down the river or in from the ocean. And so it just really solidified for me that the solution to this problem starts in people's homes, and that's about buying less single-use plastic, which is what my company does. We make everyday household products, minus the single-use plastic. We only sell them in Australia at the moment, but we're working on a plan to bring those to the Philippines to help local Filipinos use less plastic at home.
Oh, okay. So you led into my next question, actually. So you founded Zero Co., a company that produces sustainable household everyday products that we can use to also help reduce and minimize our everyday waste. Tell us about that. Right now, it is only available in your website, but you mentioned you're planning to bring it to the Philippines.
Correct, yeah. So we make all kinds of household essentials like laundry liquid and shampoo and conditioner and deodorant and body lotion, and we package them in a paper-based refill system that has 97% less plastic than what you're buying from the supermarket. At the moment, it's available in Australia, but hopefully later this year or early next year, we're going to bring our products into the Philippines, again, to like help Filipinos use less plastic at home. And then for every product that we sell, we go and collect the equivalent of 10 water bottles worth of ocean waste. And we've now done 29 cleanups here in the Philippines, and we've removed over 40 million water bottles worth of rubbish from oceans, rivers and beaches.
Wow, those are astounding figures. Speaking of efforts to collect more trash, of course, these efforts would not be possible without your partners. As far as I remember, you have another partner that helped co-fund this entire effort, the Hidden Sea.
Correct.
It's a wine company in Australia, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so they're a local Australian winery. They make wines and they have the same mission as us, which is for every bottle of wine that is sold, they collect 10 water bottles worth of ocean waste. So we've been collaborating on projects for the last probably 12 months. All of the projects that have been done in the Philippines have been co-funded by Zero Co. and the Hidden Sea.
Okay. Down the road, do you have any other future plans to come back in the Philippines, or are you moving to another country? And if you are coming back within this year, we're happy to have you again. Do you have any idea or have your sights set on a particular location this time?
The short answer is yes, we are coming back. We're going to be running cleanups every 3 months here in the Philippines, so we're going to stay focused on the Philippines. The next cleanup will be in October or November of this year. We're not quite sure exactly where that will be yet. We have a local Filipino project manager who travels around the country and looks for really problem hotspots for waste. And then we have meetings online and we select a location, then we get the team together and I come back and we get involved. It's also about educating the local people about the root causes of the problem, which is people buying plastic and throwing it in the river and seeing their perspective change really, really quickly. On the last day of the cleanup, we had a school group come down who had seen my video online and they wanted to come down and learn more about it, and they've said they're going to go away and start organising cleanups themselves now. So it's all those little, one-on-one conversations and connections that you have that can then ripple out and have a bigger impact.
Definitely. It's also about influencing the surrounding areas with these environmental initiatives that we hope you will continue. Of course, we're very excited to have you here in the next few months, you mentioned, and please do keep us posted.
Yes, we'll do.
Yeah. So, well, the big question here is you talk about untrashing the planet. You're untrashing the planet one cleanup at a time. So what can we as Filipinos do to untrash the Philippines?
Yeah, look, I think it starts with understanding that every single person is responsible for this problem. We only have one planet and all of us share it together. And so it's up to every single person to look after the planet, not just for themselves, but for their kids and for future generations. And so it's about taking really small, really easy daily steps. You don't have to go and get involved in a cleanup and get waist deep in rubbish, but if you can just buy one less piece of plastic today, then that will have a big impact, right? There's 8 billion humans on the planet, and if all of us buy one less piece of plastic tomorrow, that's 8 billion less pieces of plastic that will exist. So it's all about starting small and starting today.
We're very, very psyched to have you back in the studio, and we're very excited to hear about your next initiative. Thank you so much for dropping by here in the studio.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.